Hello, my name is Mary Ratliff. I am the Program Director of the Illinois Family Violence Coordinating Council with the Federal and State Grants Unit at the Illinois Criminal Justice Information Authority. In this technical assistance recording, we'll review the programmatic guidelines regarding the Illinois Family Violence Coordinating Council Notice of Funding Opportunity issued on March 14th, 2022. Some important dates to remember is that first of all, the NOFO was posted on Monday, March 14th. A notice of intent is due on Monday, April 4th, 2022. Question submission deadline will be Thursday, April 7th, 2022. Applications will be due on Friday, April 15th, 2022. The ICEJA Budget Committee review and approval of recommended designations will be June 23rd, 2022. And the performance period for this grant is July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. The purpose of the Illinois Family Violence Coordinating Council is to improve the justice system's institutional, professional, and community response to domestic violence, including intimate partner abuse, child abuse, teen dating violence, and abuse against older adults and people with disabilities. The Illinois Family Violence Coordinating Council was initiated under the auspices of the Illinois Supreme Court in 1990. And Illinois is one of the few states that has systematically organized statewide infrastructure that operates at both the state and local levels. Thousands of professionals from across Illinois are trained annually under this program. The Family Violence Coordinating Council, their purpose is to support prevention, education, service coordination efforts for victims and perpetrators of domestic abuse, child abuse, teen dating violence, and abuse against people with disabilities and older adults. The design is one that has a three-pronged approach. The first prong is systems change. This would be coordinating and convening committees and work groups to make policy, protocol, practice, and systems change. The second prong is training, which is improving the knowledge of criminal justice and social service professionals on family or domestic violence related topics through trainings. And the third prong is community awareness. This is increasing awareness and knowledge on family violence issues in the community. Local family violence coordinating councils provide opportunities for communication between criminal justice professionals and community service providers, and encourage the sharing of information and resources, thereby providing for development of a network of safety and assistance for family violence victims. Eligible applicants are any public or non-for-profit entities in Illinois. It is important to remember that advocacy agencies are not eligible to apply due to judicial ethics formed with the Family Violence Coordinating Council. So eligible applicants would include government agencies, including local and county government, educational institutions and regional offices of education, and the non-for-profit agencies, excluding those advocacy agencies that we mentioned before. Our program requirements are that first, to identify and describe the service area of the local Family Violence Coordinating Council. Now, in the past, in previous years, it was required that the service area be a judicial circuit. However, we no longer require that an entire judicial circuit be a service area. At the minimum, the service area should include a county. Other program requirements are that local council coordinator would be funded through IFECC or other funds, so that it is required that there is a coordinator, and that the local coordinator is also required to attend an all-day meeting in Springfield, Illinois, and so therefore travel should be included in a budget for that. We require that there be committee work, a steering committee that meets no less than 3 times a year should be formed. We encourage you to have at least 2 additional subcommittees and/or work groups that meet quarterly at a minimum. Council membership should include a diverse representation from disciplines. And the suggested disciplines are listed within the Notice of Funding Opportunity instructions. We also require trainings from protocols or facilitator toolkit trainings, promising practices, mini toolkit trainings, and as well as non-arrest trainings on topics related to family violence and based on the council's specific geographic region's needs. And then the third prong in community awareness, we require that you have a community awareness event, at least one, and that as well as having those events, that there's an ongoing sharing of information and resources and outreach to both community members and agencies or organizations in the circuit or service area. Our funding period is from July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. Now, contingent upon satisfactory performance and funding, ICEJA may recommend its board a maximum of 24 additional months, that's outside of this grant period for this notice of funding opportunity. So that would be in addition to that. So there is a possibility through this notice of funding opportunity that there could be another 2 years added on to that. And that is conditional. It's contingent upon performance of this award, as well as funding. As long as we do have an appropriation and there's funding available, we can provide that funding. Our award values. So if you are dealing with one judicial circuit or one county, then there is a minimum award of $10,000 and a maximum award of $38,800. If there are 2 judicial circuits, and not 2 counties, 2 judicial circuits, there is a minimum of $10,000 in the award, and then a maximum of $54,000 of the award. We do not have a match requirement for this notice of funding opportunity, so it's not required. We do require, however, a notice of intent to be completed. This is the website listed here on the screen that you would go in and complete the survey. It is in our Qualtrics system. You would complete that survey and submit, and that submission of a notice of intent is due by April 4th, 2022. You must complete a full application packet. This includes a uniform application for the state grant assistance. This would be submitted in Word format. A program narrative also submitted in a Word format, and then a budget that includes a budget narrative, and that is submitted in an Excel format. It's important to remember that there are places for signatures, but no signatures are required at the time of application documents are submitted. So it is important that you submit in a Word format for the uniform application, the program narrative, and an Excel format in the budget with budget narrative. You can get your application materials on the NOFO listed. In your program narrative, let's talk a little bit about this. So you should refer to the program requirements and read each question carefully. So go into the notice of funding opportunity, read it very carefully, look at what the program requirements are, as well as the scoring criteria in order to answer the questions. That scoring criteria can be used as a guide when you're completing your responses. It's important that you should have someone else review it. Not one person should just write it and submit. You should have an extra review, not just for typos, but to make sure that you've answered every part of the question. So that person that reviews your application should also be reading the notice of funding opportunity, including the program requirements and scoring criteria. A program narrative should convey the need for the program, any current efforts that have been going on with a local family violence coordinating council in this current year, and an understanding and implementation of the required program components. Do not go over the page limit, but do use all the pages. Make sure that you give as much detail as you can. The page requirements, the page limit is 25 pages, and that is including the questions that we ask. So there is a place for you to answer the questions within the program narrative document, and that 25 pages does include the questions and your answers. Your budget must align with the program narrative. It should go along with what you tell us in the application or the program narrative, what you're doing with your program. We should be able to look at the budget and see how it matches up with what you propose to do. It should be allowable, reasonable, and necessary. You should include detailed information in that narrative section. And again, read over those questions carefully. Your budget should also include travel to Springfield for an all-day Family Violence Coordinating Council local council coordinator meeting, which is required. If you have questions about this notice of funding opportunity, any questions can be submitted to cja.ifbccgrants@illinois.gov. We will not accept phone calls or direct emails to ICJA staff in regards to the notice of funding opportunity. We will only answer questions through this email address. The deadline for question submission is Thursday, April 7th, 2022 at 5 p.m. With our questions and answers, any substance questions and answers are posted weekly, and they will be posted at this email or this website. And that's just to be transparent so everybody can see what is asked as well as the answer. So check back frequently to make sure that you are looking at everybody's questions and answers as well as any that you might have submitted. Application due date, mark your calendar. It is Friday, April 15th, 2022 at 5 p.m. There will be no applications that are accepted after this time. We cannot give extensions. And again, all of those application documents must be submitted in the formats we talked about with the Word documents and the Excel documents, and should be submitted through that email. Again, here is the email address that you would send your application documents. We encourage you to submit early rather than at the deadline, just in case there's technical issues with the email. You will get a confirmation of that you have said that we have received your application, but it is important that you try to do this early and submit early just to get away from any technical issues that we might have. Again, I know we talked about this before, but these are the important dates. The notice of intent, very important. This is required and it's due on Monday, April 4th. Any questions that you submit, that deadline that we would answer the questions would be April 7th. And then the application deadline where you would submit your application documents to that email address that we had on the screen earlier on Friday, April 15th at 5 p.m. Again, our budget committee will review all of the recommended designations on June 23rd, and the performance period is July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. Just to talk a little bit about our review and funding process. First, I see just staff screen applications for completeness. They are reviewed and scored by a team of internal and external reviewers and/or program research and grant professionals. These folks are trained on the notice of funding opportunity and how to score. Any funding recommendations are based on scoring guidelines outlined in the NOFO. You would want to read that carefully about what scoring criteria and guidelines are. And then recommendations will be submitted to the Authority Budget Committee for approval before the start date, and that was June 23rd. Our scoring, again, each application is reviewed by 3 trained reviewers, and then those scores are averaged. All applications can receive a maximum of 100 points for the program narrative and budget. Applications that receive an average score below 70 will not be funded. So it is important that you write your application carefully and read through again that NOFO. I can't emphasize that anymore. And then answer your questions and make sure people review that, because we cannot fund any scores below 70. Just a reminder, question and answers. They are submitted weekly and we post them weekly. And this is again that website that you can go to look at. This is in the notice of funding opportunity instructions. And we update this each Friday. So go back maybe on Friday or Monday to review what questions and answers are submitted. This is my contact information. We, again, cannot answer any questions through direct email. It is only through this email address, the cja.ifbccgrants@illinois.gov. We look forward to reading your applications.